Sony's Okage Shadow King was released in Japan earlier this year under the name Boko Tomao, which, depending on who you ask, is translated as The Devil and I or Me and Satan King. While other RPGs out there are really trying to compete with having a lot of eye candy, a lot of big special effects, Okage really stays competitive by being extremely funny. How funny? If you really want to imagine it, think of Harlan Ellison's A Boy and His Dog is rewritten by Daniel Pinkwater, and you'll have a general idea. The game's premise is about a boy who makes a deal with an evil spirit to cure his sister from a curse that's made her speak entirely in Pig Latin. The evil spirit, which is known as Evil King Stanley Hi-Hat Trinidad the 14th, or Stan for short, then takes over your shadow and orders you to pick up, go and gather the lost remnants of his power, which have been siphoned off by imposter evil kings over the last few thousand years while he's been trapped in a bottle. He also wants you to help him take over the world while you're at it. Okage Shadow King pays really noticeable homage to Tim Burton's film The Nightmare Before Christmas, a movie that came out several years ago that really picked up quite a following in Japan that didn't do quite as well here. Nearly every single character in the game is sort of reminiscent to one of Burton's Halloween Land cast, and the off-kilter sense of humor in the game is kind of reminiscent of the movie as well. The only thing really missing are the musical numbers, though it should probably be noted that all the monsters in the game seem to be dancing whenever battle music is playing in a fight. You routinely end up playing the straight man to your terse, arrogant, and bitingly sarcastic shadow. Whenever you come up to a new character in the game and start a conversation, Stan will butt in and command them to drop to their knees and in awe of his might. And everyone kind of thinks that's funny. It's a recurring joke that really never gets old. No one takes him seriously at all, and it really drives him crazy. Beyond that, instead of fighting evil wizards or dragons like in standard RPGs, you'll end up fighting creatures that are more along the lines of man-eating onions and wild cows. Besides that, the local townspeople have names like the old guy who appears to be the elder, or freaked out man, and they like to tell you personal secrets sometimes that are kind of embarrassing. The whole beginning of the game, the first few hours, are just a constant barrage of odd premises, funny dialogue, and strange creatures. And while the humor does start to wane after a while, it's not quite as strong after the first few hours. That beginning is really just about worth the price of admission alone. Okage is an untraditional RPG only up to a certain point. After you get about 7 or 8 hours in, the original pacing, the funny dialogue start to peter out a little bit, and you end up in fight after fight, which is not really the game's strong point. It's kind of disappointing, but it's more disappointing because what's come before is so fantastic that that's a letdown. There are still a lot of original moments and funny lines throughout the rest of the game. They're just fewer and farther between. Okage's graphics are stylized 3D, but they're pretty basic. The environments are pretty sparse and will recall some of the early Dreamcast games, except maybe without some of the pop-up. A lot of the textures and models in the game are reused, especially in dungeons. Many of the dungeons look almost exactly the same. Undercutting the graphics is the game's camera, which constantly needs to be rotated around to follow you, and even then there are times when objects will get in the way of your vision. The soundtrack is really excellent. There's a lot of oddball, very quirky songs in there. There just aren't many of them, and you end up hearing them way too often. Unlike some RPGs that artificially extend their length by having a lot of unrelated side quests or a lot of breaks in the action, Okage really keeps directly to the matter at hand. The side quests almost always can be accomplished while still playing along with the main game. Because of that, Okage is a little bit shorter than some RPGs. It's more around the 30 hours in length, which is still a good amount of time for a game. It's still a good amount of time for RPG, so you're probably not going to have many complaints about that. Okage has the same sort of appeal that Bugs Bunny cartoons have. It's got a lot of humor in it that younger audiences are going to like, but it has a lot of jokes in it that only older gamers are going to get as well. It's the type of RPG that's really good if you've never played an RPG before, as well as if you've played all of them and you're looking for something new. Even with its flaws, Okage is really a breath of fresh air for this genre, which is desperately in need of the originality and quirkiness that this game has.